It is time now to round up a big topic of the week. The Duggar sisters are opening up about the molestation scandal involving their brother Josh Duggar. Jill and Jessa Duggar talked to Fox's Megyn Kelly this week. The two say they were not aware their brother fondled them and two other children until their parents told them about it. Police investigated the abuse 3 or 4 years later after being tipped off by someone who knew the family. No charges were ever filed, and the sisters stand by their brother.
I do want to speak up in his defense against people who are calling him a child molester or a pedophile or a rapist, some people are saying. I'm like, that is so overboard and a lie, really.
TLC has taken reruns of 19 Kids and Counting off the air. They've made no decision about the future of the show. The scandal surrounding the Duggars raises many questions, including how the parents handled the issue and how abuse allegations are handled in the church. The Duggar molestation scandal is our topic this half hour. We want to hear from you on our Fox 26 Facebook page. You can also weigh in on Twitter. Be sure to use the hashtag Fox26forlife. Joining us live in the newsroom is our roundup panel led by our senior legal analyst, Chris Tridico. We have our news analyst, Mustafa Tamiz, and public policy analyst, Jackie Bally. Good morning again, guys.
Good morning.
So should the parents have gone right away to police, or did they handle it internally and that's the way they should have handled it?
You know, in Texas, the law says if you have reason to believe that child abuse has been committed, you have to report it within 48 hours. And so I think that in Texas, had that happened here, the law would have required and mandated the parents to call the police and turn their son in. But I doubt very seriously that parents across the state are doing that in situations where their children are just merely being children and growing up. And that really, Mustafa, is part of my problem with this, is if this is just children being children and experimenting, are we criminalizing childhood by the way we're treating this?
I don't know. I mean, we don't know exactly what happened. I'm not sure if all the information is out yet. I guess, I mean, the Duggars have launched a PR battle on this. They're basically saying that they're being being picked on because they come from a conservative bent. The other side to it is that when Mr. Duggar ran for the United States Senate in Arizona, his platform was that he wanted, not just life sentence, but he wanted death penalty for child molesters and pedophiles. So on the one hand, he ran on a platform that was so aggressive on this issue while he knew about his son. And so, people look a lot of hypocrisy in this. And when you're in a reality show and you say, hey, you're picking on us on a spotlight, well, you're in a reality show, and that's what you make your platform, and that's what's going to happen.
Isn't that part of the reason the Duggars are being focused on here, is because they have put their whole life out there, and then you find that they've been covering this thing up while making pretty conservative statements about this very topic?
One of many reasons. I don't really watch many reality shows. I never even heard about these people until all of this came out. And, the fact that first of all, these two young ladies were victimized when they were children, and they're now being victimized again, pretty much.
Well, they didn't have to do that interview.
Because they're now, but no, what I'm saying is the fact that some of these facts came out, they didn't want it to come out the way it came out, that's where the victimization is, not the interview.
All right.
Now, the fact that they're coming out and they're doing the interview, so be it, they spoke well. But I do think that the fact that they did put themselves out there, that is one of the reasons why they're being criticized. But I also think the fact that they have a Christian bent to it, a Christian slant to them. And I think that's why it's getting so much attention. Now, we've seen sexuality happen in Catholic churches and a lot of faith-based churches because, unfortunately, pedophiles or people who of this deviant behavior, they go into places where we feel comfortable, where we feel safe. And if you don't feel comfortable in your church or in your school, where do you feel comfortable? But it's very unfortunate for these two young ladies because they are really the victims in all of this. And I do want to answer a couple of questions that Sally asked. Based on what we've heard, because the facts are still coming out, the child, the young man had to go to the parents 3 times before they finally did something. And that's unfortunate because their studies have shown if children are treated for this type of behavior, they have a 95% chance of not repeating it as an adult.
All right, let me go to Sally. Sally, where am I going? Sally, she's under our social media.
Yeah, I've pulled up some tweets for you guys to sort of look at, analyze, respond to here. The first one says, molesting a child isn't a mistake, it's a crime. To call it anything else is minimizing and unfair to victims. This person says, I just can't get over the fact Josh willingly told his parents what he had done twice. What an honest kid. This person says, I'm so tired of everyone attacking the Duggars. This happened years ago. And then finally, Jennifer, I feel bad for them because the system failed them as victims to keep their names private. What about that? Could someone face charges for releasing the report?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know the law of the state where this is happening, and so I can't say that it will or it won't. But this leaking out the way that it did, if that is a crime, it's overshadowed by the investigation that's going on right now with respect to the sexual abuse. And so I really don't think it merits a whole lot of effort on the part of the authorities. Jackie was addressing the Christianity aspect of this, and if you look back on the Catholic Church's scandal that has erupted for years, Jim Baker, Jimmy Swaggart, all of the people that put themselves out as the top tier, if you will, of Christians, when they fall hard, and it's always a media event.
Well, look, this is also part of the news cycle and the PR machine about this, right? Because in essence, it's very difficult to talk about these issues, so you rather go on an attack than be defensive about it, and that's what the Duggars are doing, and it makes a lot of sense, and they did a good job with Megyn Kelly. You know, the girls did a great job, but again, they're used to being television cameras around them and being comfortable in front of television cameras, so they're doing a very good job at managing the press cycle and really starting to be aggressive with it. The other side to it is that, you know, you've been on television for 19 years. Everything about your life's been on TV. You've taken very strong stance against child molestation, specifically pedophilia and child molestation. You ran for public office for the United States Senate, and you made that #1 issue for you while you knew this thing about your son. Of course you're going to get press on this.
You made that an issue himself. Let me ask you the same question I started with Mustafa. The young lady said that this was just youthful experimentation of a kid who's going through puberty. Now, I think these two girls who didn't even know what happened are probably not the ones to make that case. But if that is true, are we really just criminalizing the childhood process?
Well, that's the thing. We don't even know if that's true or not. And whenever they did do an investigation, they didn't find anything. And then, according to the two young ladies, the people who did the investigation even praised the parents for doing such a good job in handling the situation. So we really don't know the full set of facts. What we do know is that they are in a reality show. They've put themselves out there. So that's what people do. The people who watch reality shows, they look at these shows and they criticize. Now, one of the things I was saying earlier, that these two young women were victimized by their brother and then victimized by having their names leaked. Well, they're actually going to make get more publicity from this victimization, because even though TLC has pulled the show, there's discussions to have a show surrounding these two young women. So how much of we are feeding into it by talking about it.
How much of this is another publicity stunt to get a different show?
We're feeding into it by watching these reality shows. So unfortunately, the real lesson we should take from this is looking at molestation, how we can prevent that, how families can protect each other. But that's not the discussions we're having, unfortunately.
Real quick.
You know, on Saturday I was watching the Beau Biden funeral, and one of the people made a remark that he had done everything he could to do the right thing and become the man that he was, and he didn't have to become famous by being on a reality show or doing something controversial. And I think that that's a lesson for all of us, that some of this reality show stuff, people have become famous for not doing anything other than just trying to be famous.